Hello again. During the awful time in American history when McCarthyism flourished and the House Committee on Un-American Activities had its heyday, a favourite tactic when accusing somebody of having communist sympathies was known as guilt by association. This entailed digging around to see if the person had ever sat on a committee with somebody who had been branded a communist, or perhaps been involved with a charity which might have given aid to a communist country, or even acted on stage with somebody whose loyalty was in question. In this way, a photograph of a man standing next to a suspected communist could be enough to ruin a career. Of course, we don't really approve of McCarthyism these days, but the left has adopted its tactics and used them regularly, as I found out the other day. There is a page devoted to me on RationalWiki, which, by the way, has nothing at all to do with Wikipedia, but is rather a left-wing group which denounces people whom they claim are right-wing, among other things. I give a link to my RationalWiki page in the description to this video. They do this, denouncing people that is, by means of intimidation and the use of guilt by association, combined, of course, with outright lies. The page on RationalWiki concerning me features a photograph of me with my name below it and the following caption: Simon Webb displaying his resting bitch, dastardly whiplash, extremely punchable, smarmy git face. Is it just me, or does that sound faintly menacing? Putting a man's photograph on your website with his name beneath it and telling people that he has an extremely punchable face. I think that's what they call an incitement to violence. Of course, I mean, it may well be true that I do have a smarmy git type of face, but I'm sure that must be what they call a subjective opinion. I will not go through all the lies listed here, such as this one: Webb dislikes interracial relationships between black men and white women, claiming there is an agenda by the British media to push these relationships, which he considers odd and not reflective of typical relationships found in British society. I do not dislike interracial relationships at all, and nor do I consider them in the slightest bit odd. I've certainly remarked that they are uncommon and yet disproportionately shown in advertisements and on television dramas, but I certainly don't care if black men and white women or any other ethnicities wish to mingle, marry, or have babies together. Why on earth would I dislike that? The claim is made too that I dislike LGBT, as they put it, and have complained about seeing rainbow flags at a railway station. This too is a falsehood. I remarked in a video I made that a display of rainbow flags at London Bridge Station was claimed to be making the place safer, and I said that I didn't understand how that would work, and that a few more police officers on patrol would be more effective than a bunch of flags. I certainly didn't complain about seeing the flags. It is in the matter of guilt by association, though, that the methods used by the left really are glaringly obvious. There's a photograph of me next to one of Ed Dutton. That's an example of guilt by association. This is exactly what happened during the McCarthy era. We are told on this page that Webb has connections to far-right influencers and white nationalists. He was interviewed by Edward Dutton and was a speaker on the far-right Aporia magazine podcast. He has spoken at events for the Traditional Britain group. It is also said, under the heading of links to the far right, that Webb has been interviewed by white nationalists such as Edward Dutton. In April 2022, Webb made a video criticising the far-right group Patriotic Alternatives method as too extreme and stated that the group was destined to fade into oblivion. Since then, he's softened his opinions about members of the group and released 2 videos defending Sam Media, a patriotic alternative. His books have been positively reviewed on white nationalist websites such as Countercurrents. I didn't know this. I'll have to check out the review of the book to see what's being said there. I do actually like to read reviews of my books, of course. Here then is the crux of the matter. Let's see how this smear is worked. I've certainly spoken at an event organised by Traditional Britain, and I've also been interviewed by Ed Dutton. What is not mentioned is, of course, that I also speak at extremely left-wing events. I am not going to mention anything more recent than 5 years ago, because otherwise some lunatic will be pestering universities and so on where I'm due to speak. But I think a few events in the past will show what I mean. In 2019, I spoke at a meeting of the Workers' Liberty and Solidarity Group, and I give a link to their newspaper about this. You'll see me mentioned in it about a debate held that summer. That same year, I attended a conference in Berlin on this topic, that of the 1990 revolutions in Germany and so on, where I gave a speech. In the description, I give a link to details of this. That's how I came to contribute a chapter to this book, which is I'm afraid it's all in German, but still. It's really an account of the conference. It was an exceedingly left-wing affair. In 2016, I spoke at a meeting of the Information Network on Religious Movements, which was held at the London School of Economics, where I spoke about extremism. I give a link to the annual report of the Information Network on Religious Movements, which shows me on page 17. As I say, I'm not going to mention anything more recent than this for obvious reasons. What RationalWiki have done is to select only 1 or 2 of the meetings and conferences which I've been associated with in order to give the impression that I only ever meet right-wing people. In fact, I speak in all kinds of places, including at events organised by communists. In the same way, it's mentioned that I've been interviewed by Ed Dutton, but not that I've also been interviewed by the BBC World Service, Radio 4, LBC, The Guardian, and so on. Again, this wouldn't give the slant for which they are looking. As for defending Sam Media, my recollection is that I said in a video I made that if I saw him walking down the street towards me, I would cross the road. Some defence. Finally, I can hardly be blamed if a white nationalist reviews a book of mine. That really is scraping the very bottom of the barrel when it comes to guilt by association. RationalWiki is a very left-wing website, although they try to portray themselves as being objective and neutral, interested only in the truth. How rational do most people think it is to publish a picture of a man with the caption that he has a punchable face? What a dreadful bunch of people they are.